can just give the necessary support and to say that let the leadership continue. Well, as I said, guys, this is my opinion. I do not want to impose our opinion onto you, but feel free to share. But I do hope we have done justice in explaining the relevance of that new state-owned enterprise, and I think it's a very wonderful idea. Now, when you look at PAMA, basically also comes in as a typical investor, developer, or facilitator for those foreign companies who wants to come and invest in Namibia and they are looking for land. They can then obviously collaborate with PAMA, and an implementation strategy can be worked out through our development policy guideline. So there's a lot of benefits around it, and I think it's a brilliant idea. And where now NIDA can also start focusing, for instance, NIDA should then be an implementer. So they should implement the assets, and then PAMA needs to operate so that we get a return on investments. These two entities can actually complement each other, or where basically PAMA then say that we see that there is a shortfall in this type of assets for us to become more industrialized or to be able to do micro agriculture or whatsoever. Then obviously now NIDA then comes in, and they will then have the technical knowledge to implement this project. And then obviously once it's done, you then give it over to PAMA then to ensure that the value we get the return, we get the value for investment. Yeah. So it's a more something similar to what the green schemes are. You see, like the green schemes, it was a NIDA initiative. It was extremely brilliant. But then because NIDA was having like two mandates, they still have to operate it, maintain it, and they have to build it. So it becomes quite a lot of work. And I think this is the spaces now where PAMA then also can come in and to be able to source the right experts to operate such facilities. So there's a lot of benefits around it. We won't be able to finish, but if you really want us to unpack it further, you are more than welcome. Now on Saturday, we were talking about the city of Windhoek, where we have unpacked the market analysis for the city of Windhoek, and as I said, we were unable to finalize the data, and we just want then to give a continuation on that. Maybe just quickly for recap, we are saying we are sitting at 18,200 transactions. 14,200 with a value of 18.9 billion over a period of 10 years, with a median house prices. Please take note, it's aggregated over 10 years, which sits at 820,000. So of which currently now, as I've explained Saturday, if you take what is now indicated by FNB, they stipulated, I think it's at 1.4, 1.7 million. So if you then subtract basically the two, then you'll be able to see what is the increase in market value over a period of 10 years. But when you look at it, we are looking at around about close to 60% to 50% increase in terms of market value. So as I said, watch out for the publication. We will do for you the calculations in our write-up through the village in that space. Now coming back to the city of Windhoek, your 6 top performing. I'm just quickly going to recap before we get into the data. Your 6 top performing suburbs is number 1, Katutura, in terms of sale, Katutura proper, and then you have Kuriangava. Then after that you have Ochomise, Khomasdal with the key focus on extension 16, Then Ochomise again, extension 5. Ochomise is cropping up twice. And then obviously the last one will then be Academia. So that is basically your top performing suburb over a period of 10 years in terms of sales. So I'm just quickly going to run quickly through the numbers. Or perhaps before we do the numbers, let's quickly look into the policy aspects pertaining to the city of Windhoek. Of late, there is a public stakeholder engagement that is running of the city of Windhoek. The city of Windhoek zoning scheme that wants public input into that space. So if anyone wants to give comments on the public input on the zoning scheme for the city of Windhoek, I think it's ending this week or next week. Please check on the social media page on the website of the city of Windhoek so that you can give your input, or you feel like some of the land users pertaining on how you want to foresee the city of Windhoek to grow has not been addressed. You can then give your input so that you make sure, because once this window is over, so it will take you another 5 years for you to get another opportunity. However, you can still do it through some application if you see that you are doing a development and the zoning scheme has a negative impact on its allocation on your development. You can do a write-up, do a submission as an amendment to the zoning scheme, and obviously the city will look into it and give you the necessary input. The other one is also the structure plan. I am speaking under correction that the structure plan for the city of Windhoek has been approved. And I'm urging everyone who doesn't have access to a structure plan, it's important to look at this document because it gives the 20 years growth trajectory for the city of Windhoek. So it's important to understand where the city is expanding on when you want to do a certain development. So where would the city of Windhoek be able to meet you halfway because it's within their growth pipeline. Now, one of the key aspects that has come up in the structure plan is that for Windhoek North is earmarked for high density for residential. So you will see that in the next coming 3 to 5 years. So there's going to be a lot of sectional titles that are going to come up in Windhoek North. And if you want such person that interested into the development space of sectional title or townhouses, Windhoek North is a space, it's where you can do your investment. While in Windhoek West, we are looking more into your office spaces with a bit of a free residential mark, very much more of a commercial approach in that space. But that doesn't mean that Windhoek North doesn't have any commercial node. It does have selective corridors, obviously with the prominence of the private hospital and so forth. Now, the other significant aspect also in the structure plan is that the only suburb in Windhoek that is exclusive in terms of residential, that have exclusivity of to remain as it is in Ouwersblik. But the rest, Klein Windhoek, Ludwigsdorp, Olympia, Academia, you name it, Kleiner, Cooper, the alles, you can basically do a subdivision. So what the city of Windhoek did is it has increased its density. So if let me say you have 1,200 square meter plot in Academia, you can now subdivide it and you can then build 2 houses because the density has been reduced. So meaning that there will be a lot more land parcels to be built up. So in doing so, the city of Windhoek is actually addressing the housing crisis, which is, I think, it's a brilliant response. Secondly, because it has been a struggle. We know that unemployment is quite a huge problem in the country. Now, let's take a property, for instance, in Katutura that is 500 square meters. You can now subdivide it and put 2 properties. That means that your rate and taxes now after that is almost reduced. It's almost reduced in half. So, meaning that it's going to give you a very good initiative on investment, and there's going to be a huge cost saving. So, the idea here is that the structure plan that is in place is really to bring down the costs and to encourage development. And also, when you encourage development, so that means also you are going to increase employment, and then we will see a significant change in, especially in those trades of plumbers, bricklayers. There's going to be a significant change. Now, it's also important to look at your structure plan, so that you can also do your investment plans as to how you want to participate in the development space of the city of Windhoek. As I said, there are quite good initiatives that are coming up through the city of Windhoek in terms of development trajectory growth. It's not just that the informal settlements have been neglected, but there are really some positive notes here, good developments that are coming through. So it's very, very important for us to make sure that we really do look at the zoning scheme. We look at the urban structure plan. Now, the urban structure plan it's been gazetted and it's been regulated under the Urban and Regional Planning Act. It's a statutory process now. So, and previously it was not a statutory process, but for now, every settlement, every regional council needs to have a structure plan. So we got different structure plan. We got the biggest one is what we call the National Spatial Development Framework. And then thereafter, we got then the regional structure plans. And then we got the local structure plan, like your urban structure plan for the city of Windhoek, Swakopmund. For the local authorities to be able to get your APA status, you need to have all these documents in place, so that when you do a land application, it doesn't need to go to government anymore. It can be dealt with at the local authority level. So this is part, it's an initiative for access to land and to be able to address land delivery. It's basically the document is basically talking to that. And I know there has been a public outcry that land delivery is slow, but the law is in place, and we just, as a country, we are democratic nations that follows laws, so we need to just put them into place and to activate them, and we will be able to see the changes that we so much desire. Now, coming back to the data, what we could easily pick up here is that over a period of 10 years, Katutura is one of those areas that have recorded close to 610 transactions. But as I said, when we say Katutura, it's basically there are equally also subsections within Katutura, but the proper of the development, where Katutura basically first started, Katutura proper, and that is basically the highest, which is 610. Kuriangava, we're looking at 580. And again, as we said on Saturday, in terms of Kuriangava, this was the initiative by Dr. Libertina Madila, because when the retainees were coming in and into the city of Windhoek, there was just so much demand for land and housing, and Madam Libertina there responded effectively, and you could see that there was a significant change. Now, your areas like Kuriangava and Havana, that is where you find, I know it's perhaps not the right term to use to say the retainees in the lower bracket. That is basically where you find them, and it's because of that initiative that was done by the leadership at the time of the dawn of independence. Now, coming back to Ochomise is pushing us with 563 transactions there. We've seen what has been happening in Ochomise. It's whenever something comes up, then it's cooking. And then obviously we are looking into Khomasdal Extension 16, one of the very prime good development. That is basically now when you start seeing good up-class development in Khomasdal 16, you can see it's the smell of the middle class increase. It's a good initiative, very good input. I mean, development always relates to the performance of the economy, and at the time, especially around about the Pohamba era, entrepreneurs they always saying that the Pohamba and the Sam Nujoma era was double digits economic growth, and that's basically one of the reasons. Obviously, academia as well of the new development recently, say past 3-4 years that have recorded around about 346. Rocky Crest just pushing in there in the lower segment. Again, that is purely your extension 4 that is coming in that space of an average price of 1.1 million. Again, when you look at the data so far of the suburbs that we have indicated, your highest average is 1.1, and as I said, this is a 10-year aggregated, so you could see that things were affordable back then, and our lowest was 467. 467 in Katutura. Again, those Hakahana spaces and all that. That's where this is. And it's those container buildings. As I explained to you on Saturday, the impact of the build together program, that is basically what brought this affordability. Now, in the build together program, you are not allowed to sell your property. You can only sell it after 5 years. So now, when this property started getting onto the market, that's why they were at a very low cost, and then there was a sense of affordability. And I know people were going after those properties in Katutura, and that is where, and that's why it's important that we need to understand your NHE and your build together project. Okay, like especially your Kuriangava is very much NHE, and that's why when the transaction starts happening, it was more. It was the purchasing price was more towards 826,000. But without NHE built together shack dwellers, your property value would have been another 10 or 15 folds higher, because without this inputs, we would have been the market. We're going to have a runaway market. So it's very critical, and that's why we need really to appreciate what NHE, the shack dwellers, the building programs are doing. It's really cushioning the market, and to just keep it. They are typically our inflation barometer for the market value, and if we have to put it this way. So this programs are so critical, and this is the subsidy which government is giving, which a lot of people sometimes don't understand as to why government is investing it. And the day we do not have NHE, then we can forget about affordability. That is in simple terms. So we really need to appreciate what NHE is doing and the Build Together program. And I do hope that government and Ministry of Urban, they are going to put in more money into that space. Now, I always talk about the subsidized market. And that subsidized market, again, market value less. The market value less subsidy becomes a very critical number, and because of what government is putting into the economy. Now, coming back again to the property market, then we also start seeing that Korea Hub is also then coming in, and again Korea Hub came in a bit later, and it's sitting around about at 525,000 with an average transaction volume of 269. Simbambasia also then came in sitting at 1.5. Khomasdal again is pushing in the million, and hovering between 1.1 to 1.2 million. Again, it's very important that we understand this. As I said, it's aggregated data through a period of 10 years. So it just shows you and when you start benchmarking as to where the current market value is and where we were 10 years ago, you will then be able to understand what is the inflation capital on your market value, so that you are able to distinguish what is the growth. And if you are a first time buyer and you want to get into the market, I always say that the time is now, because in 10 years time you would have wished that you have made that purchase. So I just say that we just need to cut a bit on our luxury lifestyle and get us those assets at an early stage. I think there's greater benefits towards development.
Francisco, whose luxury lifestyle?
No, the luxury lifestyle is, the fine dining and all those things, do some expensive holidays. So I'm just saying, because sometimes you, as a young person, you always say, no, I'm still young, I still have a lot of time. But as age starts catching up, and if you make those poor decisions, they become very expensive at a later stage. You are now competing private school fees with your property, and that becomes
and petrol tanks.
Yeah, and that basically
petrol tanks with airtime accounts.
Yes, and it becomes a problem. Now, one aspect that also we need to appreciate leadership after the dawn of independence, there was actually a big rush, because that leadership, the Nyoma Puamba leadership, they understood urban proximity, and that's why they established Dorado Park. Now, Dorado Park was urban proximity because they say, no, let's establish there's huge portions of land. Let's establish some residence here, so that people don't have to travel long distances to come to the CBD to work, so that they work in close proximity. So that was a very good initiative. But for some reason, after that leadership, we somehow abandoned that idea. We should have followed it up. And then obviously it was then followed by Acacia. Acacia again has some issues with the bit of a floodplains many years back there. But then again, we now have learned that you need to do flood analysis before you undertake any developments. And obviously, from such events, the city of Windhoek have put in some serious measures before you do any development. And I must say, if you put up a development in the city of Windhoek, for any developer, and you've put up 300 or 400 houses, big ups to you, because I know the city of Windhoek is very, very strict in development conditions. You need to give a development report. So you really need to have the right professions. Otherwise, the city of Windhoek will not sign off your development application or takeover certificate. So they are very critical. We have seen what happened to the Monte Cristo Road, which is now the Peter Nanjemba. I always prefer the old name. There's this French movie which they call the Count of Monte Cristo. I don't know if you have seen it, but it's an old-time classic.
Well, the new ones I don't like, but the old ones.
Yes, how the Catholic priests have prepared that chap. And the Count of Monte Cristo. It's a very good movie to watch, especially if you are lacking motivations. There's some good inspiration there. You can pick it up. So, and that is basically how development has been unfolding, and how the market value has then come into that space. Again, as I said, the highest recorded, we are looking at 610, and then majority, because the city of Windhoek is big. So when from Dorado Park, we are now moving into the space of 179, Klein Windhoek 175. Then basically, I want to more expand a bit on Hakahana. As I said to you, Hakahana was one of those suburbs where the leadership have just at the time made a decision to say that we are not conforming to the minimum 300 square meters per plot. They just decided, whatever we can give, we will provide. And you'll then find that some of the air sizes there is 240, 220 square meters. It does not comply to the legal aspects that is currently in place, that for a single residential property, it needs to be, a minimum needs to be 300 square meters. But again, good leadership at the time from the city of Windhoek, and equally so the political leadership of its time when they were. That's why I'm saying we need to celebrate Dr. Libertina Madila, what she really did for the urban for the urban development post independence. She at the time she did what she could do best. That to ensure that a lot of people get access to housing. And when you look at these numbers, and that is where now Hakana, the average prices was running at 400,000 per free residential freestanding unit at the transaction volume of 169. But on top of that, obviously, Kleiner Cooper also came into the space, and they were averaging 1.8. But when you look at now, and that is now 10 years, that was now the average of 10 years back. And now if you want to buy a property in Kleiner Cooper, especially a freestanding, you are looking at around about anything between 2.9 to 3.6 million. So you can now see the difference in terms of what is the price. And when you can compare here, you can see there's an increase of almost 50%. To be exact, 58%. So equally so on the indexes of what we have explained thus far, the only negative growth that has been experienced, meaning that there was a price stagnation. It like your Hoogland Park saw a drop of round about a minus 38%. Now, just to give a bit of a perspective around it, I want to talk about perhaps on a property that I also own in Windhoek West that I bought 2015, where my current office is now, and I bought it for around about 3.2 million at the time, 2015. And when you look at the market value now of the similar property that I'm having in the same street which is of the same size land in terms of architecture, spatial arrangement, and so forth, and it's going like for 3.4 million. So you can see that there was a price stagnation for over a period of 10 years.
Even, sorry, Francisco, even if you basically converted the use of the property, it was obviously residential, now it's office, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you see now what I'm trying to do now, I'm giving it just residential to
Yeah.
residential.
Yeah.
So where it would have stand. But obviously I had to rezone, and when you rezone at the city of Windhoek, especially Kleiner Cooper, Windhoek North, Windhoek West,
yeah.
you are looking at a payment
And
between
even here, parts of this place of Klein Windhoek as well.
Yes, Klein Windhoek as well.
Yeah.
So now you are looking at the price tag of a minimum for you to get that rezoning certificate. You have to pay like 180,000
For
yes,
certificate.
for you to get the operation license for office use.
For a certificate.
You haven't even
Renovated yet.
no, you haven't renovated. You haven't submitted any building plans. On top of that, you also need to pay for a town planner,
Yeah.
which will bring you at the costs of a conclusive cost of 52,000. So basically, it sets you off already over 200,000.
Yeah.
So and that is basically the. Yeah. So as much as so you, for our listeners, what we want to bring to you is that you just need to at least take your roundabout, say between 10 to 15 years before you can see some price appreciation. But I'm always of the opinion, do please consult your property experts so that they can give you a better understanding. So we at Ulwazi, we always try to share the development index barometer. That is something new we want to introduce to the market so that you are able to understand which areas are developing at what rate, and the type of developments are basically then coming through. Now, as I said to you, we last spoke of Akahana. Again, we said the Kleine Cooper issue. Then basically, even so, most of the biggest jump in terms of property appreciation, the biggest jump that you basically can get is in Katutura. Yeah, and the second performing one is Olympia with 29. Katutura and all those places, they are recording 38.
Yeah.
Now this is now the, so I equally so invested in Akana. So of which the property I bought it for 3,000. Obviously, I put in a bit of investment. Now the value is now sitting at 1.3 million. So there's an extensive appreciation. So if you are looking for a fast equity growth, so you need to go to Katutura. That is where you have your best fast equity growth onto your asset. So that is, and obviously what I could pick up based on the data here, it will then obviously be Olympia that is now sitting at 29, and maybe just on the outskirts of Windhoek, with the highest growth is also Finkenstein with a 54% growth in terms of market value. So these are the benefit when you start looking at data. So we basically, so let's say in Afrikaans, ons ontleed dit vir jou, so that you can verstaan, so that you really have an in-depth how to look at the property market, then basically just rather than to have to say that the property market is performing. Now again, as you look down the list, as I said here, now we spoke about Windhoek West, and I said to you 3.2. When you look at the aggregated market value in Windhoek West, it's going for 2.6. Yeah, so that is literally and the highest value there currently now registered is at 3.36.
Yeah.
So if I look at this data, it just shows me my appreciation is around about 100,000. Yeah. So, and I think it's very important that people need to understand this, so that you do not get caught up in a space where you are unable to understand as to why. And also equally take note, when you have a bond on your property, it takes around about 10 your first 10 years, you are basically paying your principal amount. So you are paying your principal amount, and you won't see any change. Only after 10 years, you are moving into a good space. And then once you also reach the bracket of 10 years, that's where you can start negotiating with the bank to say, no, guys, can you, I can't afford now, can we extend? It becomes a bit more flexible.
Because they've already seen that there's this track record of this 10 years.
Yeah, there's a track record of the 10 years. And obviously, you can fight at the courts for you to get a bit of leverage and a bit of protection to say, guys, I've already invested this much. Just protect me until my finances comes right and I'm able to respond to that. So the magic year is always 10 years critical, or alternatively pay 50% of your principal amount. That also gives you a good leverage, and you are able to talk to your bank. So we then have seen also equally so that a lot of properties then also came into the space. Omea, Vanaeda, Rocky Crest Extension 1, some good transactions there. So when you look at what you were buying 10 years back, I could see Rocky Crest, there's also a slight increase. It basically it has decreased. It came down with around about 200,000. So So there is some variations in the property market space, and we, as I said, we need to understand what is the impact on the change. So based on the data that we are having, and perhaps I should expand on this, is that in the absence of valuation regulation, valuation council that are not regulated, it becomes very difficult to control your market value. And it's safe to say with confidence that I would say this, that we have a market distortion in the property market value. Our determinant effects on market value is very much distorted. It is the most unfortunate thing, but the government has finalized the regulations now. The act has been passed already. It's only the regulations that needs to be finalized, but it's sitting with the legal drafters. And in fact, the government is working around the clock to make this happen, because now the housing mandate that the property must be auctioned off based on market value can also not take effect, because there's now a lot of properties that are a bit stuck, because now the auctions cannot happen because of in the absence of the valuation council, registered professional valuers, and the office of the sheriff is unable to appoint valuers for marketing auction. So the moment that comes basically up, even the sheriff mandate is going to increase significantly, because there's going to be a lot of activity and movement into that space, as now the sheriff will be empowered to appoint a valuer for such. It's not really an easy space. It's a very emotional space when it comes to losing a property. It's not that easy, but again, always consult your expert, consult your lawyers, so that you can just get that safety protection, just for you to be able to protect your property. And now coming back to the data, as we are looking here, as our time for City of Windhoek is forever running, but yeah, let's quickly see what we can salvage in on our data. So I would probably want to start at the bottom. What recorded a very poor record there is basically your Ochomise extension 8, that is coming in at an average aggregated of 320. Ellisonheim is also very much underperforming. Again, Ombili then comes in quite very strong. It's sitting at 680. Again, as I said, the leadership right there. Katutura again surprising us of good number. It's at 975. I said the aggregated growth there is quite big. It's growing extensively. Academia, again, there's a negative split of around about 100,000 from 720 to 633. So basically, it's the lowest performing extension would be your extension 8. Now, when I'm saying the lowest performing is, now there are two aspects to it. If there is no movement, no market movement in your suburb, basically you experience stagnation. So in this 10 years, and your suburb doesn't appear on this list, so beteken daar's net baie ou mense daar. Yeah, so meaning that no one is selling.
Or they've been there for a long time.
Or they've been there for long. And it also means that it's old money. The properties are paid off. Yeah. So your older suburbs, usually you get very low numbers, because it's obviously now stagnation and all that. But then again, and that has also been, when your numbers are low and there's a period of stagnation, that is where your council, a local authority, there needs to come in to say, how do we then revitalize this space? Is there any open land? Can we give an increase in density so that people can redevelop? So you need to entice development. So you cannot leave an area for stagnation because it becomes a crime zone. It becomes a lot of negative effects. Basically, starts following in this space. Now you will see here. Mostly, I haven't. It has not probably the data have not captured anything below. I think below 7, and you could hardly see because there's so much data available, but you can hardly see any dollar transactions here. It just shows you. I'm not trying to put a very negative connotation on dollar, but obviously there's a lot of it's confessed of crime and all that. So the interest to purchase in dollar. However, I've spoken to some real estate agents. It says that there's even there is an interest building up in that space.
Yeah.
So it's you need to understand what is really happening in whichever suburb you're operating, whichever suburb you are going to invest in. And as I said, these things are very critical. And the reason why we are bringing you this data is for you to be able to understand as to what is the importance of data. And knowing that the property in anyone's on an average basic Namibian is probably the biggest individual investments that you ever made in your life. And we just want to make sure that moving forward, that every Namibian is well informed in terms of what is really happening in the property market data within their local authority. I always say, yes, it's very good to listen to an estate agent. An estate agent is purely just a salesperson. As net soos jy gaan by Nictus en jy gaan koop vir jou meubels en jy koop 'n tafel is omtrent amper net dieselfde as jy so I always say that please do an effort and consult your property expert and just ask a second opinion and to say that is this a typical growth area and that and obviously you need to, when you purchase, you need to look at what is the growth trends for the city of Windhoek. Your development barometer is also what if people are improving their houses and they are building new houses in their area, so you benefit out of it. But if that is not happening and you're the only one then developing, investing, so basically you have over invested. Now, when you go do your valuations in your property would almost be the same value as the guy who did not invest much. And it will always be of concern. And then you always have a perceived value that no, your this valuation report, it is wrong because I've invested X. So it's always very important to really understand. Sometimes you can invest for 10 years in the property market without any movement in your market value. But again, what is very clear on the data, your number one space to currently invest in where you are recording some good growth is Olympia and Katutura. That is basically where your big positive growth aspects are. And I mean, there's also other, there's also, but everything is, your Mbili, your Kahana, your Kuriangava, that is mostly where you can really invest and get return for your money. So I don't know how we're doing with our time.
10 seconds, but before we end, let's quickly take this short break.
Okay.
Okay, my turn. Hold on. Just let me finish my story. As I was saying,
My man, you've been finishing your story for 10 minutes now. Even my chassis is getting warm.
Just give more eyes. Anyways, long story short.
Oh, aye. When you're talking, it's a short story long.
Short stories turn long. Go best together with Tassenberg. Not for persons under the age of 18. Enjoy responsibly.
We come back from the quick break, and just in terms of where you left off, Francisco, if you can just take us through that part.
Yeah, I think perhaps now it's good that we need to conclude this section here. However, for the city of Windhoek, we still have the commercial rental market, And we also have the residential rental market analysis as well. So that means that we're going to bring you later in the year, we're going to bring you that data, because as we now trying to move central to the country to start looking in Ochivarongo, Grootfontein, Tsumeb, Katima, Mulilo, Rundu, going up towards Katima, then we will then come back again. So we are now, as of tomorrow, we're going to move towards that direction. Perhaps maybe we can start off with Okahanja and take it all the way through to Katima with that route. So you need to watch our social media spaces. But if you feel like your town needs certain priority to be analyzed and you want us to talk about it, please give us a shout out on our Eagle FM social media platforms. We will definitely respond to you. For my listeners, thank you so much and have a wonderful afternoon.
100%. On that note, dear listeners, we're going to take a break and we come back with the home run after this.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually, to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud. So
Not fraud, it's a scandal. Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You know a person who does not have the capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura manners.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to do.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something that Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
Lipuranenge no wapombwa eva tere ulikoni maundu tuto ingida ashike kapeno nweko dite opoye ekukulile. Oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana. Onongeshe fa yapombwa kukaraya kovano. Okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna ebitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu konda doili nawa nuneudo otukwetera o special ngeta shake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendi fenawa nokumona oijamoili nawa ningepata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora etatu imwe bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile komberewa nora hetatu natu bali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Simon, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
You are now listening to The Home Run with Helmut and Dwight, weekdays from 4:30 to 6, only on Eagle FM. Download the app or tune in to a frequency near you. Tune in to The Home Run with Helmut and Dwight on your number one talk radio station, Eagle FM, and be part of an in-depth discussion on events you didn't know you needed to hear until you do. From Namibia, Africa, and around the world. Tune in from Monday to Friday from 4:30 to 6 p.m. only on Eagle FM.
Good afternoon and welcome to Home Run with Helmut and Dwight on Eagle FM. You have just reached, for those, I'm saying you because I was not a part of it. So wherever you tuned in from, and if you just tuned in, you have tuned in at the transition from Olwazi, that is with Mr. Francisco and Mr. Dwight. Mr. Dwight Henna, that's definitely funny. And Olwazi is about walking you through what a lot of us actually, find foreign, even if it's spoken in, even if it was spoken in our native language, and that's the world of market, where everything that's sold in a marketplace, not the Facebook marketplace. Like the large commercial markets, whether it's a housing market or weapons markets, but we don't qualify for that second market. But so always is about the first one. You can just go back to the Eagle FM Facebook, website or app to get more information, because Francisco explains it much better, because I won't do it any justice. So 6 minutes into the hour of 5, so we transition from Olwazi into Home Run, and Home Run is it's about just gathering everything that's going on out there, not everything, just anything that's of economic interest. And we like to look at these things because, well, they're just that important. Take as we speak, for example, there are multiple public engagements taking place especially from the public, from standing committees and National Assembly standing committees. And now, I'm just looking forward to when the reports are compiled, and believe me, I cannot wait. But today's discussion here on Home Run is going to be based on something slightly similar to the ongoing engagement, but this is more like on an administrative level, like public office, officially speaking. Now, on an administrative level, from the 4th, I believe, to the 6th of this month, the National Council decided to, just meet with office, ministry, and agency representatives. So, of course, it's a public sector, type of engagement. The main idea behind is to find out ways on how to collaborate. At least that's how I got the picture from the description of their, the description that you find under the videos that you find on the Parliamentarian website. Now, what I found, there are actually multiple things that is, it's a lot information. It's a lot of information, more like compressed in a very short presentation. And these are now across multiple presentations, and this is just across 2-3 days long event. And I like the whole idea of public institutions coming together to figure out how to collaborate better, especially in terms because the goal is a very simple one. Whether you are a minister, or whether you're running a ministry, or you are running a directorate under that ministry, or you are running an SOE or an executive office like the office of the president, of the office of the prime minister, the main goal of a public office is how can we serve a Namibian better. We're doing fairly well compared to a lot of other countries, especially those ones that are mired in wars, but we can do better, because the goal is always to strive for a better position in terms of service provision. Now, how do we do that? So they came together for about 2-3 days, I believe, from the 4th to the 6th. And this is now when the whole. Now I went through three videos of this of these engagements. 2 partially, 1 fully. Now one where there's the minister. Now where you have the Ministry of Defense representatives, and that was by Major General. I don't want to butcher his name out of out of respect, because every time I go to bed and wake up without explosions, I have to thank this guy for keeping an eye on the defense of of the Namibia from internally and externally. And he did actually explain that. One of the things they do is study, basically the military strength of Namibia and its allies. And then he dove in a little deeper to explain. Now, at this point, you may be asking, why would someone study their allies' military strength? And then he just picked the most African example you can ever think of. Well, it was like, okay, look, it's simple. when I find myself in hot soup, of course, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't use the word hot, the phrase hot soup. When I find, if I found myself in a hot soup, I don't want to be running to your house asking for a panga, only to find out that you don't have a panga. So if you have a panga, now the reason why I want to, get to know you on a defense strategy level is so I know that when I'm caught in a hot soup, I know, who to run to for what. Like, very, 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 very defensive. Very defensive. Makes a lot of sense. Now, the gentleman that carried that presentation was one Major General Petrus Nathinge, Deputy Executive Director of Strategy, Policy, Plans and Coordination. That's a lot of responsibility. Now, that was the deputy director. Now, just secondly, his right hand woman. His right hand woman as one is the Listorina Kauna Ayuki. I hope I'm not butchering those names and excuse me. Now, that is his deputy. Now, so she's a deputy. Now, that is the deputy of Major General Petrus Nathinge in this whole strategy, policy, plans, and coordination. Jesu. Anyway, the thing is, I get the whole idea. Of bringing together office ministries and agencies to figure out basically what each other's mandates are. Two things. One, how to figure out each other's mandates are. What are our mandates? Okay, and how can we work together with the little resources that we have? Because now you don't have to have attended the meeting or work for any of these ministries to realize that they have they have some of the they have issues that are cross-cutting, aka you find these issues that are basically experienced by everyone from ministries, agencies, and offices. And one of those is, of course, the financial issue. And, Major General, they explained something rather depressing. Look, what I was waiting for was for the Major General, for example, to explain from a defense perspective, one, what their mandates are. Then he went through that, and what other okay. Look, this is how I expected it to go. Naively, though. In retrospect. I expected different agencies and office and ministers, representatives to first walk through their mandates and then find out where they have overlapping mandates and then figure out how they can collaborate in the execution of their respective responsibilities for better service provision with the little resources available, because it is that little. Now, there are two ministries that comes to mind when you ask any Namibian that's been following the Namibia's budget unveiling for as long as they have, even if they have been following for the last three financial years. They'll tell you that the two ministries that receive the biggest chunk of the national budget will be the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Health. And now, Minister of Defense is almost like Minister of Defense, of Department of Defense, or basically anything defense related is going to consume a lot. It's going to consume a lot of the country's finance in terms of financing for several reasons. One, turns out security is not cheap. Two, if you know anything about categorization of hardware, then you must have heard of business type of hardware. You have had consumer type of hardware. So you first, especially when it comes to laptop, I know there is a consumer type of hardware. That's now for those of you that, the type of laptops that you just use for, watching movies and maybe sending and receiving viewers. That. Why you do that with a laptop is beyond me. But anyway, so you have a consumer level. So, and then you have a business type, and then you have a gaming type, and then you have military, or more like hardware. Now, when something is military grade, for a very long time, it was seen as, if something is military grade, is like top tier in its category in terms of quality, in terms of quality, efficiency, and more like, the fluidity in which it works. Now, that means anything that is going to be used in the security cluster, aka take the military, for example, it's going to be insanely engineered, and with that engineering comes a very high price tag. So Namibia is not the only country with a with a fairly high defense budget. Look, it can be inflated. Well, people are great. It can be inflated, but the thing is, a high defense budget is not something that is new. At least, for me, that basically that gets paid to look into things like this. Now, one thing that he pointed out was that about 60% of the Ministry of Defense budget goes to, you can guess where it goes. Salaries, of course. About 60%. About 60% of it goes to salaries. You're gonna have to keep the guys in uniform happy. Not, of course, not the Bola Tinubu. Pro just gave them about 80% of salary increment, but that's something is very fishy there. But we are in Southern Africa, plus we're in Namibia, so let's just mind our business. Now, while we're on the minding our business type, the reason why I found this whole discussion more like gravitated towards it in terms of picking it as a topic for today is that at some point, about a few months ago, the Helmut and Dwight were here on Eagle, on Home Run on Eagle FM, of course, and we were going through an Office of the Auditor General's report, and the Office of the Auditor General produced some of these delicious reports. Now, here's the thing. In the report, in the more like they're just providing some kind of they provide recommendations. Now, the recommendations provided, especially, I'm not sure about the Office of the Auditor General in terms of reports, in terms of recommendation, but the National Assembly Standing Committee, in terms of recommendation, it's very clear that the recommendation can be adopted by whatever SOE or ministry the report is rated on after a thorough assessment, I assume. But Now the report can, or the recommendation can be adopted in whole or in part. So we're just telling you that this and this and this and these are the things that you could improve in the SOE that you are running, and the flaws that we're able to to ascertain during the course of our assessment. But whether you adopt all of it or you are going to improvise halfway through some of it, and then just play around with it, because the main goal is to put that in mind. Whether a ministry, office, agency, if you are in the public sector, the main goal behind that institution is to serve the Namibian person. In other words, if you are not doing that, you are doing a terrible job. And I don't think you have to be told that. If you have to be told that, perhaps you shouldn't be having that job. Yeah, like just join the... Moving on. So back to the Office of the Auditor General, Ministry of Agriculture report. Now, one thing they pointed out was that the ministry, that's where we actually got the term, public sectors, the term working in silos. That the report basically pointed out that the Ministry of Agriculture will have to start working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Environment, because we know that one of the biggest issues that Namibia faces is food insecurity, and that's because we are a developing country that is also happens to be, unfortunately for us, semi-arid. That means we don't have the luxury of year-round type of rainfall like you see in in countries that are close to the equator, and those ones that are in the equator, like you have your DRC, and take for example, Zambia is much more closer to the to the equator than we are, and so is Angola. That's why those countries basically receive more rainfall than we do. Now, here's the because we are a developing country that's semi-arid, so that means solving our food insecurity problem is going to require a lot of agricultural initiative, thinking outside of the box. But there's only so much thinking one can do outside the box. That means when it comes to agricultural initiatives, there are only two main categories of fertilizer that you have to that one can pick from, either organic or inorganic, aka organic, aka using all the natural type of decomposition methods. And now Tatish Megana can explain this to you in in plain language, leaving no comma and full stop. You'll understand everything, but I'm just trying my best here now. But inorganic, organic is using natural material as fertilizer, like think mulch, for example. And inorganic means these are basically chemicals that are turned into fertilizer, mostly from crude oil. Like most of them are like petroleum products. That's why every time that we bring up the discussion of let's stop using oil, let's just stop completely, I look at us and go like, right, of course we can. How can we do that? By using electric cars, right? That's a brilliant idea. What is the number one insulation that you use in electric wiring? Plastics, of course. Right. Stay with me here. Just stay with me. What are plastics made out of? Crude oil. See, we're back to square one. Congratulations, you're an idiot. Now, I'm not saying we can't try. I'm just saying there's a lot of irony in that explanation, and I actually like the fact that we are having these discussions, which is the whole energy transition and environmental protection discussion. Now back to the Office of the Auditor General, Ministry of Agriculture report, and how it feeds into the National Council and the ministries and ministry agencies and offices engagement. So the two main categories one can pick from in terms of implementation of agricultural initiatives, especially with regards to fertilizer, and also insecticide. Also throw that one in the bucket. Now, so you either has to use inorganic fertilizer by using natural material as fertilizer, which has now. If you remember your high school agriculture, then you know that one disadvantage of using natural sources, natural methods of fertilizer, aka your mulch, is that it takes a very long time to start showing effect. That's just how Mother Nature works. Mother Nature works very slow, and there's a reason behind that. Because chemical reactions, when you speed them up, you end up with problems, like kaboom type of problems. Of course, that's not going to happen with fertilizer. But the thing is, organic fertilizer takes a very long time to work in comparison to inorganic fertilizer. Inorganic fertilizer, one of the advantages is that it dissolves just like that. Think of it like, it's basically instant porridge, but for plants. Now, the problem with inorganic fertilizer is that at least from the perspective of the Ministry of Agriculture report by the Office of the Auditor General, is that in a long run, the Ministry of Agriculture's solution to food security is going to solve food security for the country and create environmental problem as an environmental fallout of the overuse of synthetic chemicals in these agricultural initiatives, and in a long run, that's going to create a problem for the ministry that the Ministry of Environment will have to solve. That's one heck of a conundrum. That is one heck of a conundrum, because one, I think, it's entirely possible to use organic fertilizer on a small scale. Like, think subsistence backyard gardening type of agricultural initiative, like the ones going on, it turns out, significantly in Omaheke. That's according to the recent Omaheke State of the Region address, of course. Now, but one thing about look, because of the sluggishness in decomposition, aka breaking down, aka dissolving, this natural material for a plant to absorb, it takes a very long time for them to be decomposed by microorganisms in the soil, to break them down into chemicals that are that is absorbable by the plants that you want to cultivate. Now, that could work maybe on a commercial level if we did not live in a semi-arid country. Except we only have a very, we don't have rain that often. I mean, the weather experts from African Development Bank have already predicted that chances are very high, we could be headed into an El Nino come the end of this year. Basically, this year's rainy season, which means beginning at the end of this year, and we are in August, so we're basically already at the end of the year. So basically, the end of this year is spilling into next year. Now, if we are facing an El Nino, that means that's a fancy way of saying we may not receive enough rainfall. So now, when you combine the dilemma of saving the environment and solving a food security problem, you begin to see why the Office of the Auditor General basically recommended working together in collaboration, and this is actually shouldn't be something that anyone should point out, because if you look at the different ministries, different SOEs, and like different offices, agencies, whatever, as long as, especially with regards to public entities, one thing that you see is that the moment you start taking interest and start basically watching, following what the parliament is up to, or watching the news broadcaster, national broadcaster, whatever news media is or more like attending stakeholder engagements. One thing that you notice is that the public sector, unsurprisingly, have a lot of the public sector institutions, unsurprisingly, have a lot of overlapping mandates. Because of those overlapping mandates, it's not it's not a surprise that they are actually required to work together. Because of those overlapping mandate, plus they have the one major mandate that is shared across all public sector institutions, from the executive branch all the way to the smallest SOE that you can think of. They all have one mandate, and that is to serve the Namibian person. Or Namibian mense, just make it plural. Now, here's one thing. If you just look at the, if you just look at the dilemma, or more like at least the reason that the reason that the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Agriculture should work together just to try and to see how they can navigate one major challenge. I say these two should really sit. They should really sit and just have one major discussion on how to solve it. And that's just two ministries on one problem. So now that means, my height will be the end of me.
You know, there's something about opening a tafel lager that brings people together.
Yeah, and once people come together, the voices follow.
Ideas get shared, laughs get louder.
New perspectives come up where you least expect them.
Because when people use their voice, conversations start.
And those conversations, they can refresh a moment and even shape what happens next.
So, grab a tafel lager and start the conversation. Tafel lager, now we're talking. Not for persons under the age of 18. Enjoy responsibly.
lipurane ngeno wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondudu toingida ashike kapeno nweku dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshe fa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna ebitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu kondado inawa noneudo otukwetera o special ngetashake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendi fenawa nokumona oijamo ili nawa ningepata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora etatu imwe bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile ko berewa nora hetatu natu bali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081 270 3727 or the office number 083 2888 400. Eagle FM, the eye.
And welcome back. So we continue. So if you just tuned in, this is Home Run with Helmed and Dwight on Eagle FM. Now, Hibby here, he's, just exhausted after talking about all that he had to cover today. I don't know what time he woke up, but I think I'll be dead if I was him. I'm not saying he should die, but I still need him here, I'll only maybe say, okay, you know what, fine, you can just go ahead and, after, he teaches me Afrikaans. Other than, until then, he can. Yeah. So, let's go. So, the whole discussion of offices, so basically public institution working together, is not something that should be pointed out. It's just that it needed to be pointed out for one reason. Actually, multiple reasons. So just can be construed as one or multiple reasons. Now, see, the thing is, the National Council Secretary is it Tosi Namisep pointed out something. Is several interesting things. He started by saying, we call upon our media to help us share that information out there, that when we say Parliament and National Council are not two different things. Parliament is what they call, bicameral, aka it has two main branches. You have your Parliament, which has two main branches. Now, you have under the umbrella known as Parliament, you have two people that seem to be, causing up to each other. You have two people under the umbrella of Parliament, and those two people are known as National Assembly and National Council. Or upper house, National Council, or lower house, National Assembly. Now, your National Council is called National Council because it's literally made up of councillors. from your different constituencies. And one thing that was pointed out by Mr. Namiseb is he also went into the direction of decentralization. That decentralization is not only important, but it's it's also even more important for the for the National Council, because they are more. When you're a councillor, you are more in touch with the people on the ground than the president is at the State House. I live in Windhoek. And to be fair, I hate attending events. Now, which is why I have... last time I saw the president was at an event... I even forgot. I swear. Was that before or she would... I don't even remember whether that was before or after she became president. So that means if we are going to decentralize, issues, is a service provision, we have to start looking at who is more in close proximity with the people on the ground. Definitely not your ministers. Absolutely not. Definitely not the president. Absolutely not. So now your governors, especially your constituency councillors and your local authorities, those people are more important than people at the central government in terms of in terms of sharing people on the grounds in terms of sharing our grievances as a country. But the thing is, every time we run into to these people, we want to worship them. I'm not saying disrespect them. I'm just saying you're supposed to be having a constructive type of discussion with them, development related. Not how is Windhoek? Yeah, okay. So how is Zupak? Zupak is still there, and it's actually, if you visited it, I'm told if you were here in 2015 and you saw Zupak, and you haven't been here since 2015, that picture that you had in mind, that you have in mind of what you saw Zupak looked like. Yeah, delete that one, and delete a whole lot of things from that picture. Actually make that picture old, and that stream of water, get rid of that. And if you found some fish in what was maybe once a pond, yeah, that fish is... Hang on a second, what about that fish? Hang on a second. Interesting. Someone should look into what happened to that fish, because, well... We have a thing for fish here in this country. Not we, especially ministers. They have a thing for fish. They have an excellent way of converting it to money, so they can afford iPhones with 2 SIM cards. But anyway, so the collaborations between the collaborations between public entities, brilliant idea. But decentralization is still a primary to it. So that means when you look at it, this discussion becomes very important when you look at it from the fact that it's being run by people. That's why I said when you run into your members of parliament or anyone who is in public office, he's not Moses. He's not parting in Red Sea. Just sit there and say, okay, now, thank you very much. You are in that office because a lot of Namibian people, unless you are a governor, then stay out of this. We Namibian people thought you were the right person for that office. If you are a governor, then it's just the president that thought you are the right person for that. And the rest of us are just running on trust me, bro, by trusting the president's decision for putting you in that office. So just. While we talk about those who were directly elected by the people, stay out of this. So now, when you run into your public officials, and sure, let's okay, governors, come back. So even when you meet your governors, just tell them, you know what, I didn't vote for you, but I trust the president's judgment. Now let's to just talk about development, not how you got in that office. Frankly, I don't care. Just don't say that. I'm in the studio, I can say that. But if I was, if there was a governor in front of me, I don't think I would say that. But the point is, I think we should start having constructive decision about development related more than you are from this political party, I can talk to you. Yeah. But I'm in the office that can help you with whatever information that you're after. Now, one part that was discussed, at least in the Ministry of Defense, or Ministry of Defense type of like security cluster presentation, was veterans. Also became a very interesting discussions. As to registration of veterans, about 11,000 of them seems to have still be waiting for some payments, and this is in multiple categories. Turns out there also there are different categories that they are that they are given compensations in, and there is one category where they have a backlog of about 11,000 veterans that are still waiting for. When is this Mula coming up? In this economy, it's not doing well. But here's the thing. Now, obviously, that requires one thing. Again, that is cross-cutting in terms of the grievances that you don't have to be an expert to realize in terms of how of the challenges that is basically cross-cutting across all public the whole public sector, and that's money. We need money. We need money. We don't have money. We need money for this. So we don't have money song can be looked at as a blessing, a curse. You can look at it as a curse and then start whining that, oh my God, we don't have money. I don't know when we're going to solve all these problems. Or you could just say, okay, now that we don't have a lot of resources to go around, how about we just come together and work together like a well-oiled machine? Because at the end of the day, the entire public sector is just one giant machine with multiple cogwheels called ministries, offices, and agencies. Now, if they are not well-oiled, they will jam every now and then in terms of execution of their respective responsibilities. Now, which is why this engagement was, I think, an attempt, an interesting one at that, at lubricating this machine so that it can run properly. Now, why did I find this engagement fascinating? It's because these are different offices, these are different institutions of different ranks, basically, in terms of responsibility, power, and caliber, mandates, and all that. And because of that, they are actually required to oversee each other. And this is, you can, and this goes back to, just straight, you can go back to the governance level. And that's one thing that, that's one thing that Mr. Namise pointed out. That, so he also slowly went into the separation of power. And that's just, that should be basic, basic governance structure at this point. So you have a basic governance, basic governing structure. So you have your judiciary, your executive branch, and you have your legislatures. So they have different responsibilities, and they have this thing called the checks and balances. Thanks to the French, we now have to use that. And your James Madison, the founders of the United States. Long story. The thing is, what you have here is. In the very same way that you have the three main branches of our government that have different mandates that are overlapping, but they're also required to basically oversee each other, each other's activities to make sure that they are not, they are not, they are basically not stealing each other's jobs, and they are not stealing each other's powers. I think one of the reasons why this makes, this makes for an interesting discussion is that different offices, different different offices have obviously, you are talking about. We are looking at we are looking at a compartmentalized power structure. So what we have is you have those people with a little bit more rank than other. In other words, you have one is always reporting to you are always reporting to someone. Now, when you are always reporting to someone, and that someone is always reporting, is reporting to someone, and then someone is always reporting to someone, and you have this ladder that goes up all the way to the executive branch. What you have there is that it's very easy to confuse, a responsibility for showing off. Mr. Links?
You're on the showing off part.
You need some sleep, man.
Yeah, I need some sleep. You're on the showing off part of things. I want to add in from the Ministry of Health presentation that took place.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, the presentation, even by the Ministry of Health guys, brought to light not just concerns. They love saying challenges, but I call it concerns, which has been things that you and I have theorized upon. For example, the presentation was done from I think the finance department within the Ministry of Health by a gentleman known as Mr. Boyce, and he explained that this operational or the current level of the staff complement, and he is citing in terms of the current policy mandate of the Ministry of Health, which is primary care, stands at a 42 or 60 something percent. One of the two. 42%, sorry. And man, I wrote the thing down. Let me just be sure. The concern from that is, he says he would obviously love to be at 100%, with 100%, citing and highlighting that that is the optimum level where they've got people, and plus that the Ministry of Health also suffers a high staff turnover, specifically from the frontline staff. Now, we can obviously just surmise, he cited 62%, yes, 62%. The high staff turnover means that people obviously leave for greener pastures. With me citing, and you also, basically reinforcing that particular point, even though it's a different sector like tourism, that there are young Namibians just getting their basic certifications in Namibia, and then they immigrate and become migrant workers, in other countries.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've seen, for example, like when my niece was doing her German language training, my brother would tell me that, my brother, niece, and his wife would tell us that the next class was just about language proficiency for nurses to go and work in Germany. It's something that we've also seen here last year. Remember the Velvice University interview you had to do?
Yeah.
Where the gentleman that was here was from Germany, which was a partner facility in terms of where they can take the best prospects here from the institution, and they can find immediate placement in Germany. So that's one of the particular concerns. Now, up steps a classic discussion, because remember the presentations were all about providing insight and knowledge for the new members of the National Council who were sworn in at the start of this year. Stand up one gentleman, a councillor, and he says, what is the ministry doing about these illegal, he calls the label, illegal training facilities? I scratched my head and I realized, that was National Assembly's standing committee, and this is the whole National Council sitting here.
So is that in relation to this to a discussion we had about health institutions?
Yeah, the health training institutions.
Yeah.
And obviously we've already exhausted that particular avenue, because the actual horses explained from their mouths the lopsided operation, requirements in the Namibian certification sector for their institutions, because you won't be graded or measured on something that is not operating and doesn't have humans in the class and humans teaching those other humans a curriculum that you need to assess on. So, we satisfied that discussion.
Dwight, put a pause on that.
Yeah.
You said it was a councillor that asked the
this
question
is
of...
now National Council.
That
So
asked...
this guy got up.
What is the ministry doing in reference to the Ministry of Health, of course?
Yeah. What is Minister of Health doing in reference to tackling these? And he says illegal health training facilities. And
I'm going to pardon his English on that one. I think he meant unregistered, but
he used these words for he was standing there suitified and
his suits don't count.
And prim and proper. His face was all Vaselined up, and all that. Almost how we looked like when we were kids on primary school, when our mom used to decide to apply the whole Vaseline to our face. And then we are just...
It's a miracle we were not invaded by the US of having too much oil.
And then on the way to school, we attracted all the mosquitoes and the dust particles, So, yeah.
No, okay. Didn't the Minister of Health representatives have a whole discussion trying to basically ascertain or more like answer that question when they met with the representatives of different kinds of all different health training institution representatives?
That is the particular concern because let me emphasize this.
Because look, I'm just wondering.
Let me take this out of the shot.
Look, I'm just wondering why he didn't know that this event took place because it would have answered a lot of his questions. Because it sounds like he didn't.
No, because he didn't. Because he's National Council and the guy and the standing committee that met with all those stakeholders.
Yeah.
When I was there, was a standing committee from the National Assembly. So we obviously have these two houses.
Yeah.
Who don't tell each other, hey, if you guys want to sit in on some of our discussions, there's an open invite.
It doesn't matter. Dwight, you and I know this event. We don't belong to any of the houses.
Yeah.
So and they were they were obviously made public.
Yeah.
For the public.
Yeah.
And
on the same social media platforms that both houses promote and communicate their developments on, and it seems like this councillor, did not see.
Councillors, come on. Look, when Helmut and Dwight are on Eagle FM telling Namibians to participate in engagements like this, and you show up, and actually, look, you are countering our productivities here. Because now we have to start telling public officials to pay attention to what they are doing before we tell an Namibian to do the exact same thing.
Another key concern that pops up from this was I forgot that guy's query, but his query, they were just basically between 12 o'clock and lunch to keep comments and contributions brief.
Yeah, and they were very time sensitive.
Yeah. The concern was the Ministry of Health is a massive ministry.
Yeah.
In its entirety, it's a massive ministry. The presentation also by Boyce, which was technically the largest, it's about a 40-minute discussion just for Ministry of Health from a 3-hour video. They cited primarily that the ministry also has, separate from Ministry of Works, they've got a specific department in one of their directorates on infrastructure, capital projects, renovations, infrastructure maintenance and all that has its budget allocation in it. And then there's obviously also some of the other particular equipments and infrastructure that you would need, for example, like ambulances, which are vehicles, they are more current assets than fixed assets, because a fixed asset is a building or a physical structure that you can't move, obviously. So Boyce presented that particular scenario to explain, listen, this is also where a lot of our budget planning goes through.
Yeah.
They also formed part of, Minister of Health also forms part of the medium-term expenditure framework. He called the phrase MTEF. Now, when you try to understand that in terms of, for example, like the staff turnover or the the labor turnover that he cited, because they are only operating at 62%, is that they wish to achieve the 100%, because that means they have, from financial year to financial year, they've got vacancies available that are not being filled quicker or quickly enough. And in the meantime, while they're trying to fill the existing vacancies, people step out.
So the number of unfilled vacancies
keeps fluctuating and growing, yes. And it also cites primarily that it sometimes also, for example, some of the particular external economic pressures also places a burden or places further burden and pressure on their budgeting ability, which is natural to understand and to see.
It's expected, yeah.
But if we cascade this discussion forward with when that gentleman stood up, that council, and asked about what is the ministry doing about this. Now, to me, Helmut, I know, me personally, if someone tells me don't do this, I'm someone that aims to comply, to be obedient in some cases. And sometimes you ask the question why, and obviously based upon the response, you then assess your next move. Either if it's going to be rude, you also react rudely. If you know the person. If you don't know the person, how do you advance from there? Stuff like that. The concerns from the National Council, since this is now the first, 7 months of their operation, the National Assembly obviously has had a whole calendar year to adjust and understand things.
Yeah.
That's why they're in full swing in the regions. That's why our colleague Anna Kleta has been going crazy there with Rundu-based engagements. But
we're just waiting for the reports.
I'm just waiting for those reports. But the particular discussion from the National Council has been, how do they see these presentations? We can assume a few things without looking at the presentations or looking at the videos. But how do they see, from their mind's eye, from their perspective, from their framework, what the Ministry of Health is supposed to do? A few things that the Ministry is also in a development with, that was the other thing, it's two bills. It's the Universal Healthcare, and there's a second one. It has to do with some sort of it's something you ingest, that you take in, a bill. The concern from this is obviously Ministry of Health knows that it has to manage a procurement need, which you and I already looked at last year, which was why the Auditor General's office told them, listen, stop placing things under emergency procurement, which clearly are not supposed to be there, because you can't prove the emergency and justify why, the normal challenges, the normal channels of procurement is not being followed or is not healthy enough to be pursued. Because I position these particular schools of thought with regarding what the National Council asked in terms of a conversation that's already exhausted. Why did he come up as a National Council and ask this question? Because parcel to, or what is vacant to this presentation, was the Health Professions Council. That is a question to them. That is not a question to the ministry, because that's a question to the Health Professions Council, which is a body governed by the ministry.
Which is why he should have followed that engagement when the HPCNA was actually addressing that. You know what? 2 minutes to the hour of 6. Before we continue, let's take a live read before I come back to start cooking councillors. Relax, guys. Not cooking anyone.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're just waiting for those reports.
We will make spud braai.
Look, man, capital projects. The same guys are going, what project? And now we have this. Seriously? No, don't get me wrong. Just keep screwing up. I'm, having a time of my life here.
Yeah.
Welwitschia University 2027 applications are now open. Faculty of Health Sciences, postgraduate diploma programs, a certificate for enrolled nurse, midwife / accoucheur level 6, a certificate in pharmacy level 5, diploma in environmental health sciences level 6, bachelor of social science work of Social Work Honors, Bachelor of Nursing and Midwifery Science Honors, Postgraduate Diploma and Midwifery Science Honors, Postgraduate Diploma in Community Health Nursing, Level 8, Postgraduate Diploma in Occupational Health and Safety, Level 8, Postgraduate Diploma in Mental Health Nursing, Level 8, Master of Public Health, Master of Occupational Health and Safety. For more information, call 081-403-6406. Welvicha University, where everyone is an achiever. So, councillors, here's the thing. I feel like if I was going to become a career politician, I would try to understand what the National Council does, what the National Assembly does, what all at least the basics of the mandates of different ministries and the SOEs and including the Office of the President, Office of the Office of the Auditor General, Ombudsman, Prime Minister, all these things. Because look, sometimes it's the question that we are asking in these public engagements that's making ordinary Namibians really question your knowledge about not just the position that you are in, but what the government responsibilities are, and if you understand any of it. Yeah, and I'll keep taking us to to something that I found fascinating in the judiciary and the National Assembly Standing Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs on when the was that 2024. Yeah, like they knew their main concern, at least one of their main concern, was the sluggishness in implementation of projects because of implementation of different projects. One of the reasons behind this sluggishness, as they were quick to find out when they met with the gentleman from Ministry of Works, was it was a legislative procurement problem.
Yeah.
Now, but then they sat in front of the judiciary and asked, are there any other way of fast-tracking this procurement? This procurement, surely a door cannot take more than 5 months. And they were told, again, the very same thing, basically, they were told by the Minister of Works representatives that they found on the ground, that we have a legislative, more like chokehold here. Yes, the public procurement allows for emergency procurement, but the word emergency is defined with very strict technical, explanations. In other words, you have to stay within the definition of what the public procurement, deems emergency.
Yeah.
If you get out of that technical definition of what the public procurement deems as an emergency, then it may be an emergency for you, maybe a ministry and all that, but according to that piece of legislation which you're supposed to conduct yourself under, it does not qualify. Again, that's a hot soup that the Ministry of Finance found themselves in. With the Office of the Auditor General. Yeah. Yes, you had issues. You are literally dealing with situations of life and death. And one of the main reasons that causes basically sluggishness in procurement is that the tenderpreneurs that apply for different bids, they are also allowed to contest after a bid, one of them has been successful. The one that are not successful are allowed to contest the result.
Yeah.
And when the result is being contested, the tender is put on hold. Now, at this point, when there is a certain hospital now that needs medicine, that needs supplies, that would definitely qualify as an emergency, because you have a case that is ongoing in court. You don't know, not even the judge knows the exact date is going to be concluded. So there's no way of telling when it's going to be concluded. There's no way of telling that facility when they are going to be receiving medicine.
Yeah.
So now, when you look at that rationale, it's very easy to just get an independent third party and then just scribble it as emergency and then just give that supplier money so they can deliver the medicine. except when the financial reportings are now done by all the financial institutions that are responsible for, for tracking the financial spending in the public sector. Like you end up now being told your heart was in the right place. Yeah,
we know what you wanted.
We know
what you wanted to do. You wanted to get medicine,
but
you can't do this, which factors into the dispute, Helmut. The procurement disputes also, the plan changes, which we also haven't seen. The changes to the Procurement Act to basically shorten the dispute time frame. And the judging.
Those things are still ongoing.
Yeah,
I think they're going to go on for a while.
Yeah, which we have to try and understand now. A question of will these same national councillors also be able to understand the impact that a platform like or that act of the Procurement Act, basically. I now looked up, obviously exiting now from the Ulwazi program, now into the Home Run.
Yeah.
I quickly looked up when this new SOE that is on the plans, the two new SOEs, the first one being that Public Assets Management Agency. And I was thinking to myself, is it going to be governed by the state-owned the Enterprises Act, or will it get its own act? Because how I usually see many SOEs was that they've got an act, their own personal act, and then their act just speaks to the Public Enterprises Act.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And it's because yes, you can balance probably between like a functionary, like a NAMCOR, a National Arts Council, which also has its own act, and then you try to identify, okay, what role does it do? And even this new Namibia Air guys, will it be an act as well? Because even Transnamib is governed by an act. It's an oldish act of 1992, I think, or 1998, but it still has its own act.
Yeah.
So we asked these particular. Now, the reason why I went into that technicality of legislation and making laws that would then back up certain particular functioning entities in the Namibian economy is the question of that one councillor now got up and labelled, in his eyes, all privately owned health training facilities as illegal. He didn't even differentiate or ask a question with regards to.
I think he was specific by saying all the illegal one, which is why I said I will forgive his English, because I think he meant unregistered. Because
I've now realized, Helmut, I won't assume if someone uses a word.
So let's just go with illegal.
Yeah. We speak.
It may sound like contraband.
We focus on his word
Illegal.
or hers or her word, and then the question is about define
illegal.
Yeah.
Define what is
illegal.
You're right.
Define in your eyes or in your perspective what is illegal. Like that's the Space Science and Technology Bill discussion last week. A woman from Ministry of Health made a very good contribution there in that discussion, where she asked a question during now the Q&A about public stakeholder engagement. And let's also be honest, when it seems like we've got a big problem attending these public engagement scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
There was great public involvement at the nuclear bill, public engagement bill, for example, here in Windhoek.
Yeah.
But when it got to something like the Space Science and Technology Bill, which I believe was slightly hidden, I call it hidden. I'll explain why I call it hidden. Is primarily the venue, firstly, slightly smallish, and the particular presence of who the public was.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you today, most of those participants in that pretty small venue were all from functionaries in the Namibian economy, both public and private, who have an active stake to play in space science technology. So the average person did not Yes, they did not know. Look, it's not Eagle FM's job to promote on behalf of Ministry of Education about their bills and their particular things, unless they obviously pay for it. You know, come up with the dineros, guys. We can arrange things. We can.
We can talk.
We can talk. You know, so that I can have holidays at the end of the year as well.
Usually that's me, but
I had to slide that in there, you know.
I know, right?
But sitting in that particular engagement, so usually, like I explained, I sit and observe who's in the room with me because I'm there recording. I've got an active role to play there.
Yeah.
I'm there to capture content.
Yeah.
And I observe how many of these people are functionaries already in the economy. And will they now go tell their family about this conversation, yes or no? Will they just go repeat back to their bosses? So meaning everything is siloed, everything is isolated. All engagements are just... And then you hear, it shows up in a parliament session, no, there was extensive public engagement. But all the people were government officials and private sector people. Not even the public, private sector people, government officials.
Define extensive would be my next question. Extensive public stakeholder engagement. You're all buddies.
Exactly. Everybody knows everybody. Even the private sector guys that register at government for their services and their licensing and their permits and everything. All those guys know the people sitting in the room with them.
Which is why you should market, guys, because this whole thing of just now you are in the private sector. I'm in the public sector. We have an engagement that we're holding. So I'll just call you up. You're Dwight. We have this engagement coming up next week. You coming or not? No, I'll be there. And then we end up finding ourselves. It's just you and I there.
Yeah.
Now, how do you expect David to hear about that? Because he doesn't have any of our numbers.
No, he didn't know we had this conversation even. Or that it was WhatsApp marketed or WhatsApp shared. Once again, please, dear media, please tell your people. Why must I tell my people? Why? How to preempt and to generate activity for you? No. If you want to advertise, pay advertising rates. Come to the show. It's one of the key things I've been observing that specifically ministries have been lacking on. For these public engagement stuff, that thing that happened, that Anakleta observed for us in Rundu with the nuclear science bill, was primarily because no advertising took place.
Well, advertisement actually took place. It just took place on WhatsApp.
That's what I'm saying. Which was not advertising. It was, please, bro, I trust you. My client is in your contacts. That was the message, the spirit,
share the word.
Yeah, just share the word. Come all, come many. There won't be drinks and refreshments, but just still show up.
Yeah, but look, this is why it's kind of tricky to explain the lack of attendance in this kind of events. I mean, the events have free food. Who wouldn't want to attend if it was just put out there for everyone to know that it was going to take place somewhere?
Well, I know of the Windhoek events that have free food, Ahmad. Imagine to yourself whether or not Anakleta saw free food in Rundu.
No, they must definitely be free food. Otherwise, then we're adding on to the explanations of what people not show.
How did the public not show up for session number 1, where they technically just completely rebelled against showing up? They didn't even boycott.
Yeah.
They didn't even abstain. It was a literal rebellion against participating in the nuclear science bill, with direct questions of what will this do to my life?
Uh-huh.
Now, if you can't answer the what will this do to my life with why you need to have this person in the hall to give insight, then we realize that in actual fact, public participation in Namibia doesn't take place outside of Windhoek and the coast.
No, okay, is there free food at these events outside of Windhoek?
You know there was free food in Rundu.
Then
so how are people not motivated to show up even
because you're not telling them there is an event. Okay, look, okay, here's the
thing. Why
would
would you tell them first there's the free food and then this is the event while they're busy chewing? People won't pay attention.
What makes you think, African funerals are always having
Well
large number of people.
well attended.
Look, you think they all care about the dead guy? They don't.
Yeah, no, it was very good. I like
Yes,
the
yes,
I
very-
like the chicken drums.
Yeah. I
His
mean,
funeral dinner was the best.
this guy and I met when we were in college, and then you go through 2 hours of telling the story only to be told by the auntie that it was actually a baby.
A baby.
And now, you see, that's when you start. That's when you start actually realizing that this whole thing of congratulations on your wedding. He's there for the cake, and
He's there for the party.
and
To look at other people's
I'm not
daughters.
saying I'm not saying come up with a vetting process of who gets to genuinely attend weddings and all that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is just market your events.
Well, if you want to manage your costs, please don't market.
Do you want people to know about your event, or do you just want to compile a report for your supervisor?
That's the thing.
Because if your goal is to compile a report for your supervisor, you may as well just sit in your office and just fake everything.
Have a Zoom call.
Thank you. Have a Zoom call. But if you want to reach people,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to market. Coca-Cola did that. Colgate did that. TBS engagements are forever. Actually, diamonds are forever. They all did that. Now, you want to reach people by crossing your fingers and hoping your WhatsApp message reaches as far. And really? And that explains why some of our businesses are dying.
Yeah. But, David, welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
I'm
happy to be here.
It's awesome to be here.
I actually wanted to
Sound like you're practicing for something. Sound like you're practicing for an office.
No. I wanted to contribute, especially looking at public participation. I think one thing that we should look at is also that maybe previous participation were not counted. Maybe citizens lost hope of some of this engagement, and also maybe they are not also attractive, especially to make them having that interest. But you cannot have development without the citizen participation, because you all need to be on one page. And it boiled down to what we are speaking about, especially when we speak about the aspect of what is your role as a citizen. Is your role as a citizen within Oshana region, Msati, Karas, just to complain and get social grant and also get drought relief program, or your role is also to shape policies? Maybe these things were not well explained. Dwight, I want us to reference the other guy that stood up at the launch of the constitutionalism book, who said citizens want to understand what is in these books. Because believe me, I was reading the book.
Did you start already?
Yeah, I started already.
I'm still far.
But one thing that you can see is that he's still at the strategic level. Is somebody with a university education that will be able to look into that book. But when you look at the presentation which has been given, is that if SADC, for example, just to give an example, has a protocol on, if Africa, Continental Free Trade Area, there are protocols on women and youth, especially rural youth. How many of them know even about Africa Continental Free Trade Area?
Do they even know what the thing stands for?
Yeah.
The AFCFTA.
Yeah.
We asked that question back on Friday. Remember, David? Because here's the funny thing, Helmut, to consider also in this discussion. Like, obviously today's engagement is based upon the government agencies and ministries giving PowerPoint presentations to the National Council. So the National Council, since they've now been in office for like 7 months, can understand what each ministry does, what their current projects are, so on and so forth. Here's the funny thing, Helmut. It dawned on me back on Friday while David and I came from that book launch, the book that I showed you. You have to get.
I had to.
I'll remind you tomorrow.
I just cruised through.
Yeah, I have to remind you tomorrow. Do you know what was the light bulb moment that struck me?
Yeah.
Do you remember before 2020 or before 2018 when the ratification process began between the African Union member states? Do you remember a public participation process by the Namibian government sensitizing us Namibians on this thing that we have to now work towards?
Mm-mm.
You don't remember it, no?
No.
I don't remember it also. So, the crux of the matter that feeds into this discussion as well has been, there have been scenarios, primarily where our government has just gone and signed things with the Council of the Wise, signed things, and then you just hear as Namibia, oh, Namibia is now treaty or partner or member nation to a protocol. Hence the reason why I'm now looking, we might have to, Helmut, and this is a suggestion, we as Namibians, we might have to box AFCFTA up in one corner and tell them we will get to you when we sort out our issues. Because
we'll be with you shortly.
Yeah. Like after 2030, when the first oil is flowing, when we can afford to meet some of the AFCFTA's particular protocols and its ambitions, we will get there. Now, I asked David the same question. Does he remember any particular public stakeholder engagement process with regards to the AFCFTA? And we both realized that we never saw this in Namibia. So Namibia, we as Namibians are now liable for something we never had public insight into. Because in our constitution, and this is the funny thing between the nuclear science bill, when what's the guy's name? Mr. Axel Tibanyane was asked by one of the public members, why are we doing this public consultation business? Why can't you guys, just as the ministry, or as the government, just continue with drafting and then submission? And then he said, but it's in our constitution where it says, you guys have to participate.
No, it's at the center of public policy. You cannot make a policy without understanding what people need. And one of the things that we need to put in mind is also that when you are saying public participation, when people are looking at citizens are not people who are not thinking. You have retired experts who want to come and contribute. But did you make that contribution attractive? Did you make it necessary?
Did you put it at a time frame?
Did you put a time frame? You have people that were even going to assist you. And it's one thing that I'm always seeing when you give somebody an opportunity to stand up a position of authority. I just stood up now. Then let me say you are a councillor. Because you are honorable, which is something that you deserve because you are in front of people, you think you are just the commanding citizens. That is already wrong. It doesn't mean that you are more and it's not a matter of countering or discrediting people. The public or the masses or the public, they always have a contribution. It doesn't mean that you are intelligent than everybody. It means that you need those advice too. It's the same with public consultation. If you want to see that you are fragmented, look at the elections. Look at how citizens are showing up when they want critical information. But also look at which part citizens show up. We speak about aspect of food. Do we really need to go to a consultation when there is food? But the question is also coming.
Please explain to David what you explained to me. Please.
And the question is also coming to the aspect of understanding the language being said. I like giving credit, especially currently. You have seen some governors that they don't only speak in English, but they go down. If they understand the vernacular language of the people that they are leading, they'll be able to communicate to these people, because you are consulting at an understanding level. But if you have a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, then you speak your good so English.
You're the only one with electricity there in front of the community.
Yeah, you have a backup generator for your PowerPoint.
You showed up with a double cab.
People will not listen to you.
Yeah,
and that is quite very dangerous for the development, because if citizens do not understand what's going on, if a nuclear bill is not widely consulted, if it does not hold input of the people, things will find us in the operation of things. That's where the fight will start. It's the same with you can talk about petroleum, you can talk about any other bill. If it's not widely consulted, the problem will be in implementation of those bills or those laws. That where the problem is going to be, because it lack the ground input. And if you speak about nuclear bill, I always give an example of my grandmother to say, if my grandmother has to attend the first question is, what is in for me?
No. The first question will also be,
Yeah.
what is nuclear?
Yeah, what is that? But
What is a proton? What is a neutron? You'll be asked such questions.
Okay.
No, Helmut, it's not for us. It's not for us.
No, I know that part. But protons and neutrons, explaining that in your native language, we have a lot of translation to do.
Yeah.
Look, it's very easy if we just, first of all, copy the Germans method. Now, I've just come to learn that Germans have a long words of, say, long names of things. It turns out they don't name them, they just describe them. It's a whole sentence.
So that you know it.
Yeah.
It fits into the head.
A thing that cuts nails.
Yeah.
That's a nail cutter.
Yeah.
A thing that boils water.
No, it's
You get
it's
a thing that's
no, it's communication.
German is beautiful, guys.
I was hoping for something, Albert.
But it's good when you have clear communication. When people understand you, when you're at the same level, it's good.
Yeah.
And there is something that I've been pushing to say. When, for example, a report is done on an informal sector, we like speaking about that. There was a study on informal sector. Then one day I just go to Stop and Shop and look at some of, not everybody who is informal sector is Stop and Shop or at Havana 4-Way or wherever, and just ask to say, do you understand that there is a study about you guys and what you do to this economy? I wonder these people understand it. I'm not underestimating them because they are busy doing the selling and all these things. But how many do you even know that there is a representative who at some point stood up and spoke on your behalf when that report was launched?
Yeah.
We did not see them. Yes, they were represented. But are you even aware what process is happening in that sector so that you can be transformed? If you go to somebody who's selling Kapana now and you are telling this person to say, do you know that by 2035 you are going to get money from the bank, you are going to be included in the financial system, those are strategies, 90% of you, so that you can contribute to the economy. They will not know. They will not know because why? There is a gap of information transfer. And I think that's something that not only PRO should do, everybody should really be willing to come on board and make sure that the communication from the State House is going directly, passing all the channels to somebody who is deep down at the project
level,
at the project school or in the community area, in the community, or at the cattle post
project level, project school.
Or at the cattle post. I want to say, because if for example, the president went to represent us in South Africa at its 46th SADC summit, then there's a clear direction. There's a very strong point from, let me say, the executive secretary of SADC, who said we must start value addition now. Somebody who is a small-scale miner, poor, must know the direction of the region already. From that perspective.
That's coming in the reports, I suspect, because I saw
But this guy, they're not going to read the report.
No.
Yeah. And they are already disconnected. They think I'm just, poor, I'm a small-scale miner, I'm not even connected to SADC. You don't even care where the things that you are mining going to end up in.
Yeah.
You don't know if you are feeding you are feeding a weapon-making company or you are contributing to real, electrical generation through just that aspect.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of information to say, if director of ACC gave a communication, it must go straight to even traditional leaders and young children must know. Because if I don't know what you do, why do you expect me to show up? I would rather go and graze my cattle. Or people would rather choose go to Kuka shop than public consultation because that's where you meet friends and that is where you find the way is the best opportunity for that day.
Yeah.
Really, did you know that the main guy or the main conversation that you should have is that which is happening? People are there, people are listening to radio, but was it really communicated as it was supposed to be? Or you only need, and it's also a matter of, I think it's an African thing. I'm always indicating to say, when you look, for example, ECN, they are very good during elections to encourage people go and vote. But the main thing that we're supposed to do, even now, is to teach people what is voting for an individual. Do I just need to go and vote? Is it only to put the leaders? Is it only voting for what? There's a common saying that my vote is my choice, or these things.
Yeah.
But what is the reason behind? What is the background of voting, for example? And if that is being communicated, we will not say, no, we need the people to show up, or youth are not showing up and all these things. We must be able to communicate with each other in a very long time, and to keep that bond, citizens and leaders. You can't be appointed today, you are a governor, but when you are showing up at your first stakeholder.
We all save at YouSave. This week's specials are any 2-litre Pepsi, Miranda, or Mountain Dew soft drink, just $30 Namibian. 100 grams Frisco Granules instant coffee at $28.99. 1 litre long life clover milk, only $22.99. Pay just $20 for 8 or 100 cups Clover dairy snacks. 500 grams yummy polony at $26.99. YouSave, your low budget grocery store where good food costs less. Tune in to The Home Run with Helmut and Dwight on your number one talk radio station.
Need some help with the groceries this month? Then YouSave has a competition that is just for you. Every Friday between 1 and 2 p.m., Eagle FM will be giving away a $500 YouSave voucher. To stand a chance of winning the $500 YouSave voucher, all you have to do is follow Eagle FM Namibia on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and be on the lookout for the weekly competition question. YouSave, where good food costs less.
Welcome back. 29 minutes left to the hour of 7. You're still listening to Home Run with Helmut, Dwight, and joining us is yours truly, David, or if you want to go Swahili, Daudi.
It's a Muslim name. Daud.
Yeah, well, I just learned that a lot of...
Let's stick to David for now.
I've come to learn that a lot of names are just translations of different...
the same way... like Solomon is Suleiman. Or
Suleiman, Suleiman is Solomon. So you have Peter, Pedro, Petrus.
Peter from Eastern Europe.
Yeah. So... David, you were saying?
I was indicating to say, let's make sure that communication of a very important aspect of development must be very clear and must be understood by everybody. And we must make sure that not only citizens, when we speak about stakeholders, if you have a community hall that can have a capacity of accommodating 300 people, or 400 people, and it's only 9 people that have showed up, then you have a problem.
Or no people that showed up.
But if you have a Kasi vibe, even when people are paying a lot of money, people are willing to go there because the objective is clearly communicated. People are watching Miss Namibia. You see, even elders are watching Miss Namibia. But I'm not saying it's not necessary, but there are things that are quite very, very, very variable not to miss. But just because of the way we've been doing things, people realize just government presentation, or there's a politician coming, there's this thing. But if we keep that, we will know the relationship between us and the leaders, and also how developmental messages are being communicated. But one thing is also make it attractive, not only with food, but also the way you communicate your ideas. You can't come to me and make a presentation and you are also struggling to understand the concepts. or you have, it's true, or you have a consultant again.
Yeah.
It's not correct. You come there and you simplify it to people. And I'm very, very happy with, for the first time, I'm very happy with the parliamentary standing committees. What they are doing now, it should set us at a different note, especially going forward. It also shows that there have been a gap between those who were supposed to be held accountable and those who were implementing the laws. And it's the same with stakeholders engagement. Not only engage in terms of policy, but engage in terms of progress too. Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm I'm still on the opinion that advertising does its part.
Yeah.
Because paid for sponsorship to communicate your message will obviously get you the best turnout that you need. I believe the people mobilizing these public stakeholder engagement scenarios are not using the tools that we all know exist to the best of their abilities. They are WhatsApp sharing it with us, like that nuclear science bill and the space science and technology bill. It was told that it's as if the government officials believe we work for them, telling us, please share it with your audiences. Why?
Okay, how do I put this?
Why must I share things?
Camera first. Okay, there's a traditional healing phrase.
Okay, let's hear the traditional healing.
So there's a traditional healing phrase that is very common from in the Kavango regions. But it's coming out of the Zambezi region, and that phrase is Mlima Atuse. That's how we are operating. It literally translates to may God help, but it has the connotation of we leave it up to God now.
Go with God.
Go with God. That's exactly what we are. We are holding these stakeholder engagements with Mlima Atuse in mind. So, we have this perfect structure, and the English is top notch. Throw in AI, and we are,
it becomes even better.
It becomes way better. But look, but the thing is, now you have multiple issues here. Look, consultation is very central to democracy, and I love every single bit of it, including what is, I love the reports coming out of the public sector, whatever office or agency that's coming out of. And it's very beautiful because it indicates like the grievances of the people on the ground, which is what all the parliamentary standing committees that are now scattered all across the country in their fact-finding missions. That's good. They're gathering that information, compile it into a report, and then put it on the table of home run, and then we'll start, just throw it on a frying pan. Whether or not an agency, an SOE ends on a frying pan, it's not really up to us. They bring the fire, cooking oil, and we are just the chefs.
And the divided itself.
I know. Now, the thing is, I don't, we're failing on two fronts. Actually, that if we improved on these two fronts, we are going to get, our governance in this country is going to improve significantly, especially in terms of information sharing. If you look at the effort that is put in by the public sector, or not just the ECN, basically every political party and every government agency, including ECN, that's involved during election times. You have ad after ad after ad. That's your vote. Your vote counts. Your vote is your voice. Your vote. Now they don't leave that to WhatsApp. And because they don't do when they don't leave that to WhatsApp, what happened? There were long queues that were going on for that were going on. We literally had to extend the election date because people were showing up. That's what happens when you market. When you cross your fingers and leave everything to Mlima Atuse, you end up with Rundu nuclear bill. Where
like that, I was asking, what does it mean to you? What do you mean?
Look, the things and I like that we do that about voting, but I don't like that we do that once every 5 years. Because one of the biggest critic of democracy was Socrates. And one of the arguments Socrates made was that before you ask people to vote, you're gonna have to educate them what voting means. And the example he uses is that if you were hopping on a ship, would you trust someone who has zero maritime navigation skills to pilot the ship, or someone who is qualified to pilot the ship? Now, obviously, any rational person would want someone who with years of experience in maritime navigation to pilot the ship. What makes you think piloting a country is any different?
No, it's a deep question.
You must have a license to drive a car. You must have a license to operate a bar. But just cross our fingers and hope governance just works it out itself.
No, it will not.
There's no license to be a politician.
And it's a good thing. No, there's a license. No, there's a license that has been given to you by the citizens.
It's invisible.
Look, ne? And
You're not helping me.
it's also fair to say, in problems that we are finding ourselves currently,
Yeah.
it's fair to say it's not only about private sector, it's not only about government, but also citizens who failed to do what is supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Because as far as institution of the state are there, or institution of providing informations are there, you also need to be responsible citizens. The question is that what are us Namibians busy doing on a daily basis? What are we doing on a daily basis? Are we an awakened generation, or we are a generation of social media? Beyond social media, beyond those fights that we always have on social media, there are people who are very good at roasting each other on social media. Some have really brilliant points, although they are not communicated in the way that they're supposed to be communicated. But if we should bring this in the nuclear bill conversation,
They're the silentest ones.
yeah, then it will be different. And if we start focusing on imported stuffs that I think are somewhere, let us not just wake up one day, then there's no food in Namibia anymore. We must know to say what is that we need to do. And there's always a joke that is always been given to say, if you want to see what you are dating or who you are married to, ask that person what the repo rate is. It's not only about the repo rate. It's about the understand. The phrase is not about no. I want to make it very clear. I want to make it very clear.
Yeah.
The phrase is not necessarily about repo rate,
Yeah.
but it's about the understanding of critical things.
Yeah.
Not really to say if somebody does not understand the repo rate is not having a mind, but understanding critical things.
Yeah.
And also there is a saying to say, when
gonna
imported
try that.
when imported conversations are happening,
An easy way to be single.
how is your partner contributing? When imported conversations are happening on economics, no, you don't need to be employed. When people are speaking about economy, when people are speaking about law, when people are speaking about natural resources, when people are speaking about business, you don't need to be deeper into things. But at least you understand one thing. That is exactly what I wanted to say. That it's also our responsibility as citizens to make sure that we learn and we also go to people, not only to be invited.
I hate stories, but I'm gonna share one anyway.
Yeah.
What happened? Did you test someone on interest rate?
No. This is just me showing you that my dad is where I got the humor from. Growing up, he told me this story about a gentleman who married a very wonderful lady, and then went to the shop, bought something that bought some food. Now, among the type of food that he bought was pasta, macaroni. Now, the thing is, he bought the ones with the holes in between, in the middle. So now when Dwight is confused because
The holes in the middle? Which pasta is that?
you know how they are. You know how they make pasta in different shapes. They make the elbow ones, and they make they make the curly ones like
There's tagliatelle, there's fusilli. Fusilli is the one that looks like a scoop.
like a drill bit.
Yeah.
Okay, you see
Tagliatelle
fusilli.
Looks like a flattish.
The flat ones.
The flat spaghetti, that's tagliatelle.
Yeah.
You get regular macaroni, elbow, which you mentioned already.
Yeah.
And then there's the other.
A regular macaroni, the one that
Then there's the one that looks like a shell, a seashell.
Yeah.
No, I want to hear
the seashell one. Those ones are terrible.
Yeah.
We made a mistake of buying them. But anyway, we like trying new things.
What happened?
Now the thing is, homeboy just brought stuff to someone who clearly was not familiar with what type of food that she was being given. She didn't even know it was food. So bro went back to work, and when he came back from work, brought some of his homies to his house, only to just from the entrance of the yard, ran into a bunch of kids with necklaces made out of macaroni. Now.
Okay.
So homeboy just turned to his friends and were like, can we just do this tomorrow? I need to have a word with the madam.
But you're lying. Your dad did not say that.
No, it's
I have a lot of childhood stories. Believe me when I tell you, I had a good time. Now, the thing is, look, the point is, explaining is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have had, I think 2-3 more stories.
Yeah.
But that's for off mic.
Yeah.
It seems the older he gets, the funnier he's becoming. But the point is,
there's a lot of stories.
now look, the thing is, consultations are a brilliant idea in terms of democracy. You see, the issue that Nigeria had, where they only found out that a private citizen of their country started a whole government agency. He was even meeting with foreign investors for representing an entity that seems to be coming out of the president's office, but the president was not aware of this organization. I think the reason why I kept saying that there is no way you can pull this off in Namibia, until Dwight pointed out to me that you are thinking about this from a Namibian perspective, because you need consultations to pull off something like now, because of this of something that may seem simple like consultations. It's borderline impossible for anyone to basically pull off something like that. So consultations are a brilliant idea, but we are missing two main ingredients that will make it even superb. One, translate people. Harvard English is not going to cut it in terms of information sharing.
That one defeated us.
Yeah.
That one defeated us.
Yeah. And the second one is advertising.
Yeah.
The first one, because the word will have to get out there. But to get the word out there, that's even that is not enough. You still have to break it down in simple. Look, I have listened to there's something we call broken English. I do that all the time, and I don't feel guilty about it. I didn't ask for this language, and I've listened to all the actually to some not all, just the few of the State of the Region address. We are blacking English all the time. Now. That is those of us that are prioritizing English all the time.
Yeah.
Now, what makes you think that everyone is at the same level of your understanding? I feel like one thing that I learned in my just 2 years of teaching was that when you are sharing information, aim for the average learner.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't just go 100 kilometers an hour and assume that everyone is gonna catch up. Because if you aim for the regular, the first ones will catch up easily. But if you aim for the for the top 1% of your class, the regular will not catch a thing.
Which has been also one of the things that media is guilty of.
Yeah.
For example, Helmut, the understanding in some cases that some of the media representatives have about some subject matters.
Yeah.
For example, I know you and I, the three of us, we can exhaust, let's say, the space science and technology bill discussion.
Yeah.
We can exhaust it from left, right, and center.
Yeah.
We can dissect it into 15,000 pieces, and we will still have spare change to discuss in another setting of the home run to take it for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
When we've got to look at this discussion of the written word, David and I, we know we're under pressure to put 500, to condense a 3-hour video or 3-hour audio into 500 words. Now, where's the opportunity cost going to go? Because in many cases, the things that a lot of Namibians still place a lot of value and trust in is articles from trusted media sources. Now they can put there and they get 500 words, which is technically 3% of the whole content and the whole conversation. 3%. Because I've written an 800-word article now from the first 10 minutes of a 1 hour 45-minute audio recording.
Yeah.
I've written 800 words, Helmut, from just the first 11
That's a lot.
From the first 11 minutes. So when we look at these particular scenarios about the information being shared, how is this being shared?
Yeah.
That's why my first advice was these public stakeholder engagements, the reason why a lot of them are falling through the cracks but on an ugly scenario, and you can anticipate that they might just be, boxes were ticked off just to write reports for the supervisor, so the supervisor can tell the executive director, you know what, boss?
Yeah, we have spent the money.
We've achieved.
Yeah.
This is the SNT expenditure. These were the team members.
Straight to the SNT.
These were the SNT. These were the team members that were on the road. These were the stakeholder engagements. We achieved maximum participation out of 3 million Namibians. And your hall was the size that can take literally 2 classes, 70 people.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke to 3 million Namibians. So right there, there's a fundamental issue with how the stakeholder engagement takes place. Earlier today, after the unpacking today, I had to go to a workshop training and this was for the upcoming elections, about recommendations from missions to the ECN and stakeholders in Namibia.
Yeah.
And one of the things immediately, Helmut, that popped up is that Namibians don't read.
They read selectively.
That one too, that David said. They read selective. Namibians don't read. But I also realized specifically it's how the information is also disseminated.
Yeah.
I mean, Helmut, will you have time there to look at where your ECN voting station is? If you have to go to a newspaper and you find an insert, the newspaper is this thick. This is the newspaper. Nah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the newspaper, David.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the insert versus the newspaper. The sizes technically, you can see the one is thicker and heavier than the other one.
Yeah.
This is the newspaper, this is the insert for the insert about the polling stations across the country with added information about do's and don'ts. Do you think a reader will read that?
Nah.
You just make me to remember there was even one senior police officer, I think he's a deputy commissioner, who was lost about where he was supposed to go and vote.
Yeah.
And it's really funny about the information. Sometimes we think we know, but we do not know.
Yeah.
And it was a shocking thing. It was on social media. It was a video was given to say, we know you are a commissioner, but you are not allowed to vote here because you don't have right information. And it was shocking. And these are the people who are supposed to lead the public. And this it says a lot. And the other thing, maybe what I should add to the conversation is, why do you think it's necessary? Why do you think these people still have to come to your region?
What's the selling feature?
Why is it like that? When you are speaking about stakeholder, there have been a lot of commonalities between stakeholders and shareholders, but one of the similarities that you are part of that process, or you are part of that institution, or it cannot happen without you being affected. That's why people are coming to consult the citizen, because they are the one who elected their leaders. And it's not a favor. It's something that cannot be done without consulting. That's why for something to be drafted, it has to have a public opinion. But what is also interesting is that other people, they are doing it just to tick the box. And it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
When you tick the box, it's very dangerous, because you go with half information, or you go there with information that only on you. Because one thing is that every day, this was supposed to be a process of learning.
Yeah.
When you go to Karas, when you go to Rehoboth, when you go to Swakopmund, every engagement is a learning process for these people. And these new ideas, they were supposed to compile reports about this. Apart from input to the policy, even new information will be coming from that. But we are where we are today because we have to blame all stakeholders, because even that who is doing consultation is a stakeholder, because the government is our institution and we have stakes in that institution, because if the government prosper, everybody is prospering. If we are struggling, if we are limping, then everybody also going to be affected. Yeah, that's why I think even the understanding itself of the word stakeholders, you being part of it, I think is necessary also to say it's not a favor. It's not the government they just want to come and say hi to you. They must come to you because that thing has to be done. Yeah. I think that is what I have to say.
Helmut?
Yeah.
Your side?
You know whose burden is left here? Academic institutions. we really need to translate some of these things. I think one of the reasons why we are scared to have these conversations in our native languages is because we know we cannot translate electron.
No, it's good.
Yeah, those type of public engagements. Look, yeah. So look, we live in a world where technology is taking over. It's not taking over in a scary way, but it's becoming a part of, it's occupying all aspects of our lives. Some people are working on robots' wives. Now, that means we will have to start, we'll have to start reaching a level where we basically have to keep up with technology. Now, and technology is one of those things where we have a lot of things that remains untranslated. So that means we cannot break it down in our own vernacular. We can't. Now, you see, there was a time when you did not need a laptop.
Yeah.
But now it's, you need one if you want to work. You need a laptop, you need a computer, you need a phone for you to work.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if you were stuck, imagine if you were left behind with this technology. Imagine you were too stubborn to learn how to use a phone or a laptop. You'd be out of a job.
No, you're already out.
So that means the more technology is advancing, it all started with, just learn how to turn it on and off and start use Microsoft Office. And now we have transitioned from using Microsoft Office to at least create an email. Because no one is walking from one office to another handing papers over. You have to send an email.
Yeah.
So now that means the more technology is going to advance in the very same way that it has from what are those a typewriter. Yeah, from a typewriter. How do they use those? From a typewriter.
Yeah. No, at that time you were big. If you have a typewriter, you were big.
The German government apparently still uses typewriters.
No. If you had those things, you are big.
You're the boss.
Yeah, you're the boss.
And you hear that thing?
Yeah, it shows status also. But when you're looking at it now, even when people were growing up, people used to send fax. When was the last time I sent a fax? How many people do you even know?
Was in 2014.
People don't even consider that anymore. Things are changing very fast.
I don't remember when.
Or was it 2010 that I sent a fax last year?
Or you can fax. It was just there to say you can email or fax, but nowadays, no. Nobody is faxing anymore. I don't even think they are in the market.
I don't remember faxing
anything. And you needed a separate telephone line for fax. You had your telephone line, and then you had a fax line.
But now things have changed.
Because you don't want the same traffic on the same particular infrastructure,
All right, 7 minutes, actually 3 minutes. 3 minutes left to 6. Yeah. Time for the next guy. So, but just to wrap things up, for me, it's a consultation. Brilliant idea. Excellent idea. Excellent idea. So, and the consultation is actually it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So, consultation is a brilliant idea. We just have to pull up our socks on spreading the information and spreading in the information using the right mediums like hello Eagle FM, and using the right language. Don't just assume everyone was had the English colonized into them. A lot of so to keep if we're going to talk about inclusivity, we will have to break things down in language that everyone can understand. Otherwise, we may as well just stop. So the ball is in your hands, gentlemen.
No, I just want to speak about the English that you even spoke about. There are people who speak English, to that extent that even they mispronounce their names in their vernacular language because they had a native English speaker struggling to pronounce that. And you see it, the moment you start understanding that, then you know what I mean. Because if you have a certain way of calling somebody within your vernacular language, you can't, just because you are speaking English, then you have to pretend like you do not know how to pronounce that, and that is something that we are doing wrong, and it take us it put a gap between that who is communicating and also the ordinary people. Because if I have to communicate in English, if I have to say names of my village, if I have to say names of the people in my vernacular language, why should I have to say Elao if somebody is Elao, for example? There are those guys, and it's coming with what you have said about colonialism. And a lot of people, they end up doing it unintentionally, pretending not to know. Not to know because you are speaking that English. It's not correct, and it must stop and right now, so we can move. Yeah, that is what I want to say. But stakeholders engagement, we are all having stakes, and we must be partaking in that aspect. Whether there is food or no food, we must always be there.
I just want to say, let the government guys pay their advertising dues. That's all you need to do. That's the best way public participation will happen. And we'll have to see from here.
Yeah, forget David's part about no food. Make sure there's food.
You are now listening to The Home Run with Helmut and Dwight, weekdays from 4:30 to 6, only on Eagle FM. Download the app or tune in to a frequency near you. Tune in to The Home Run with Helmut and Dwight on your number one talk radio station, Eagle FM, and be part of an in-depth discussion on events you didn't know you needed to hear until you do. From Namibia, Africa, and around the world. Tune in from Monday to Friday from 4:30 to 6 p.m.